Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we're going to make a really fun pair of earrings using some of my beads from my Jesse James Beads September Design Ambassador Kit. So let's turn down and we'll get to work on that, and hopefully you'll enjoy these. Thank you. Okay, so the items you're going to need today are about 9 inches of 20 gauge wire. This is German style 20 gauge. If this is a little too stiff for you to work with easily, go ahead and use 22. A head pin. I like a ball head pin. I like that extra little oomph on the back. Of course, an ear wire. This is a lever back style. You'll need some Delicas. These are of the Illuminating. You'll need one of these mother of pearl embellished beads. And all of these beads, well, these two did not. These beads all came from the Jack and Sally mix, or bead strand, I should say. And these two beads are from the Day of the Dead mix. So this is what we're going to use. And this is the earring we're going to make. I hope if you know, there's a few changes. If you don't want to have the drop here, you could just do just this piece, or you could just do the drop, or maybe just one bead. Anyway, any way you wish to do it is fine. There's also plenty of tassels in the Day of the Dead, so I had originally thought maybe we'd put some tassels on here, but I liked it with the bead drop. So let's get started on these. And the first thing you want to do is make a wrapped loop at the top. To make the wrapped loop, you'll need some chain nose pliers, which bend down about an inch and a half or so and make a straight across bend. So it looks like sort of like a 7 if you put it this way. Now, you can use round nose pliers to do this, or you can use bail making pliers. I personally prefer bail making pliers because it makes a really consistent loop. So I use the smallest bail on bail making pliers. And you just wrap it around, turn your pliers, bring it all the way across, straighten her up if she's a little uneven, and then just wrap it. Now I want about 3 wraps here. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then the next thing you'll need is your flush cutters to trim that excess wire off. Being very careful not to trim off your loop or your other wire. And then tuck it. Tuck any excess wire that you have. See, there's a little bit there. So let's just tuck that in place. Okay. Now that that's done, the next step, try and get this straight so it'll go ease on, is to ease on your mother of pearl bead. Let's get so we want, that one went on quite easily, that's good. So then we're going to make the loop on the end. So we do it exactly the same. Bend your wire over. Use your bail making pliers, up and over. And then twist it over at least 2 to 3 times. Sometimes it'll work better at 4. But since I'm going to leave this little bit of gap here so that when I come back around it will tuck into there easily. So make sure your wires are pretty much the same with each other. Then if you've got that good, the next step is to ease this wire around your bead, snugging it up pretty relatively close, though you want to give it a little bit of room because we're going to put our little yellow beads on here. So now that we've got that sort of well bent, we'll get our little delicas out, drop those, a pile of those down, and because of the way these little beads are, it's actually the easiest way is just to pick them up with the wire right off your bead mat. Drop those down into place and see where we're at so far. And we still need quite a few beads. But there's the beginning of it. I don't know about everybody else, but I tend to flip things over and work with my right hand since it's my dominant hand. I find it works simplest for me. See where we're at now. We're getting much closer, but we still need just a few more. We want to go to this side because we want the wire to come from the front around. So looks like we need, oh, probably about 4 more. Okay, now we've got this round of this pretty good. And actually, I think we may have needed one less bead. So let's take one off. Snug it around the bead, the mother of pearl bead. As you can see, it's looking pretty good right there. So then hold it in place and wrap your one around from the back all the way over to the front. You just need one wrap, and then you want to warm your wire up some because we're going to bend it around the other side now. But we don't want any really sharp bends, so let's try and just use the base of the bead to wrap our wire around. And there we go. Now we will start filling this side with the yellow beads and do it exactly the same as the last one to fill it up. Still need a, not quite, we're a little over halfway here, so. And let's see if that's enough. Oh, that's just about perfect. Though I think I may want one more bead. Let's see. Let's go around the outside there. No, maybe not. I think we may be perfect. Now that we've got this done, the next step is to pull these close, as close as you can get them, and they'll stay as a outer edge. And then wrap around again. Slide her over into place. There she slipped. And once we have that in place, we take it back into the back, get our flush cutters, and carefully trim off our excess wire. Take our slim needle nose pliers, or chain nose pliers I should say, and tuck that wire in. Being careful not to squish your Delicas because they are glass, they will break. There we go. Now the next step is to decide for yourself which side you like as the top and which is the bottom. I have chosen this is the bottom, this is the top. So we will take our, let's get some of these tools out of our way, shall we? The next step is to take our head pin and we'll make our little dangle. So to make the dangle, you just feed your beads onto your head pin in the manner that you have chosen. I have chosen a little green one, a yellow one, and a purpley colored so that they match pretty well the interior of this bead. Then we do our little bend. Get our pliers here, go around till they meet here. Make sure you've got this loop, then feed it onto the side that you wish to have the dangle on. I like these really thin pliers for holding these in place because they don't interfere with what you're doing much, and it makes it much simpler to get it done. Now you can wrap these with pliers or without. Just wrap your wire around here. That will look like it went over the top of the other. And then once you've got it, you'll try and get it to the wire to go to the back when you cut it, because that way you don't have that extra wire bit hanging right there and it looks much better. So now we're going to trim off our little extra bit of wire here. Well, come on, baby, let me get hold of you. There we go. And tuck this in. Now, see, this one is a little crooked here to the wire as where it's going to hang, so take it and just push it up a little bit so we've got it more straight. And now all it needs is to have the ear wire put on. Let's close these up so we don't have little beads everywhere. It's not tucked as much as I'd like it to be, so let's get it in there. That's better. Now put on the ear wire by opening this up like you would a jump ring with just as a swivel movement. Put that on, tighten her back up. If this wire looks a little crooked, sort of straighten it for yourself. And there we go. There's our pair of earrings. Aren't those cute? And colorful too. So, hi folks. Now that we've finished this fun little pair of earrings from our Jack and Sally bead strand and Day of the Dead beads, let's turn down and work on another one. But this time we're going to make a beaded tassel, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. So let's go down and get to work. Okay, this little pair of earrings, I've got one made. You can see how they look. I really think they're really cute. What we'll need to make these is a needle, some wildfire, about 4 feet, some little yellow, well, whichever beads you want. You'll need quite a few Delicas, some beads for the end. I've chosen these gold ones. We are also obviously making these a multi-metal color. I've also got the bead cap here, a couple of beads, a little crystal spacer, and an ear wire, as well as this bead is for a stopper bead, and a piece of 20 gauge wire. I think this is probably about 6 or 7 inches, probably a little more than you need, but that's all right. The first thing we want to do is we need to make a very, very tiny loop, and I mean tiny. So we wrap, and it has to be a wrapped loop. So come down about 1.5 inches, bend our wire, and normally I would make my wrapped loops with the smallest step of a bell making plier so that they stay nice and consistent. But this time we're going to use the very tips of these really, really sharp round nose pliers. And that's because we want that really tiny, tiny wrap it around like that. You see I've got a very tiny loop there, and then as we hold it in place, we wrap at least 2 to 3 times. I usually do at least 3. It makes it much more secure. So now that we've got that done, let's cut off its tail here. And tuck this little piece of wire in. Okay, now we've got our teeny weeny little wrapped loop. And this wrapped loop is extremely important, and you're going to find out why in just a moment here. The next thing we need is our wildfire. Now, I say about 4 feet, or you can do from like fingertip to fingertip. I ended up with pretty much extra when I did mine, so you probably don't need quite that much, but better to have too much than not enough. And we're going to make 10 tassel legs here. So cut that off. Get the old, oop, come on baby, don't make a mess. Get the old thread out of my needle here. I tend to leave some thread on my needle after I finish working, because if there's any left, because that helps me not lose my needle. So since this is wildfire, the easiest thing to do to thread it is to squish the very end with your pliers till it's flat. I don't know if you can see that. And then thread it through your needle. Now I have to get up pretty close to see this, so if I'm off camera, I apologize for that. There we go. It's barely through, but you gotta get hold of it. And we'll pull it in, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches. And hopefully not break your needle while you're at it, because that one bent pretty good. Okay, now let's go to the other end of your wildfire. And you need to put this little stopper bead on here. Just, it should feed right onto the wire, onto the wildfire. Leave a bit of a tail, and then with your needle, come back through the other direction so that it makes a loop here. Pull this through. And you should get, a tail that's like 4 or 5 inches. That's a little longer than I want, so you can just pull it down some. Okay. Then, once you've got that done, take your piece of wire where you've put the little wrapped loop, feed the needle through your eye, and pull it up until the stop. And that's why you need it to be so small, because this is where you're going to stop your bead at. So then we put this down, and we're going to start working on the legs of our tassel. We're going to make 10 of them. So there are 25 beads of the yellow and then 1 of the gold beads. If you want it shorter, go ahead and make it shorter. If you want it longer, go ahead and make it longer. Now I find the easiest way to do this is just to put the beads down on the mat and pick them up with the needle, because they're tiny and so they're hard to you pick up with your fingers. So the easiest way is just to put them on the mat and pick them up with your needle. Okay, there's 25 of those, and then we'll put on this one. Slide it down. Now that you've got it down here, pull your gold one back, or whichever color you're using, and then you need to feed your needle back through all of your little delicas. Now if you can't get it in one pass, that's all right. You can come back in after you come out, and then pull it up tight to the eye of the loop, the eye of the loop. And then you're going to take your needle and pass it through the loop to the other side. If you don't do this, you will not get a consistent leg. In fact, your leg may fall right out. So now there's 1, and we need to do this 9 more times. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and gold. Back through, skipping over the gold one, back through, or whichever one you use as your end one, and back through your delicas. You just use like regular number 11 seed beads for this if you choose to. That also works fine. Whoops. Now, if this is something you don't want to do, see, I got my other leg inside my feeder thread here, so we need to get it back out of there. Pull it up. There we go. Okay, so there's 2 done, and we need to do this 8 more times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, and the gold. And now again, we want to pull the gold back and go through the yellow. The straighter you keep this, the easier it's going to be for you to go through all the beads at once. So there's. And then again, once we get up here through the loop, you have to go through the loop. If you do not go through the loop, you will not get your tassel formed perfectly. Okay, now that we're on the next to the last one, we'll get this one through just like we have the rest. Sure we have all the beads on here. We do. Oh, we're missing one. Here we go. Pull it up. Tighten her up here. Go through this one last time. So we're on the other side. Oops, where are you hanging out? Oh, that is the end. No, you hooked up here. I thought that felt a little short. So, okay. Okay, now that that's through, we need to get the last one done. So again, we need another 25. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and we need just a few more here. So we need 4 more beads. 17, 18. Oh, I think I miscounted. Let's see. We'll have to recount here. That's all right. Come on, get down here, beads. 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And then the gold one. And now we pull them up, just like we have the rest. Pull the gold one back and go through all the yellow beads. Again, the straighter you keep your bead strand, the easier it is to go through. And if you have to push them back a ways, that works. Let's see, I've got a few more here to get. Okie dokie. Now that I've got those, pull it all the way up. And now that we have that up, go through your loop one last time. Now what you're going to do is you're going to, since we have all of the beads on here, you're going to take hold of your stopper bead and just pull it off. And then we're going to make a overhand knot. Well, actually sort of a series of overhand knots here at this end. One overhand knot is probably sufficient, but I am a little anal when it comes to my knots, and I will tie a couple of them actually. We'll tie this 3 times here. Then I'm going to flip this over, pull the cords over to this side, and tie another little series of overhand. We want that to go down in the base. So there we go. A couple more, and then we'll clip our threads. Okie dokie, that should be good. So now we're going to clip the excess thread off. And we can leave a little bit of a tail because it's going to go in the bead cap, so it's not going to be an issue. So we'll put the needle to the side. And now we've got our tassel started on the bottom. All the beads are in place. Next step is to pull the bead cap over it. Just slides right down there and slides over your beads. It should then look like this, and then feed your other beads on. Black, the crystal rondelle, and then the little pink one. As you can see, we had a lot more wire than we actually needed, but better to have too much than not enough. Now we're going to form a wrapped loop up here at the top. You can make a simple loop if you want, but I always make a wrapped loop. And I bent it, as you can see, at a 90-degree angle. Now I'm going to put my bell making pliers in with the smallest one up, wrap it around, bring it over, and then wrap the top. Depending on how far up you bent it, you should be able to get 3 to 4 wraps. I've got 4, though this last one is a little bit high, but it's all right. And then we're going to clip off our extra wire. So I'm going to bring this around to the other side here. and tuck in that little tail. And when you have that done, we're ready to put on our ear wire. So open it up with a twisting motion, just like you would a jump ring. Twist it sideways, put your earring on, and close it back up by just simply taking hold and bending. And there we have it, our little tassel earring. Let's close this up before we lose our beads and put it aside. So there we go, our second little pair of earrings of the day. Pretty little beaded tassel. Aren't those cute? I hope you enjoyed this. This is Rose from In Rose's Garden, working with my Jessie James Beads September Ambassador Design Kit. And that's earring number 2. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.